Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back in time far back, all the way to ancient Athens. The city is just waking up. The first light of dawn stretches across the horizon, and the air is crisp with the promise of a new day. You're not rushing anywhere yet. You can hear the distant sound of roosters crowing, the faint hum of the city beginning to stir. This is Athens, a place where philosophy, democracy, and everyday life are intricately woven together. And let's be real, you probably won't survive this. It's a world of endless debates, political intrigue, and maybe a little too much wine. But hey, no judgment. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where you guys are tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You open your eyes, the soft glow of early morning light flooding your simple Athenian home. The bed beneath you is rough, a wooden frame with a woolen blanket, but it's enough to keep you warm through the night. As you stretch, the familiar smell of fresh air and earth fills the room, and you rise slowly. The stone floor cool beneath your feet. Your first task of the day is a simple one: wash your face with cold water. The water comes from a nearby fountain, carried into the home in an earthen jar, and it's just cold enough to wake you up fully. The chill of the water sends a jolt through your system, helping you feel more awake, ready for the bustling day ahead. The people of Athens are early risers. There's no sleeping in here. The city moves with purpose, every citizen fulfilling their role in the grand dance of democracy. As you splash your face, you can hear the first stirrings of the city dogs barking, the sounds of market stalls being set up, and the chatter of neighbors beginning to gather outside. You look into the stillness of the water in your basin, a faint reflection of your face staring back at you. You don't have a mirror, just this reflection, but it's enough. Today will be another busy day, another day to play your part in Athens' grand experiment in democracy. After all, you are a citizen, which means you have a voice. This city, despite all its philosophical grandeur, is grounded in the practicalities of daily life. Your contribution, however small, helps keep it all running. Historians still argue about the nature of Athenian democracy. Was it truly participatory, or was it a system that allowed only the wealthy and influential to have a say? Some point to the popular assembly, where every male citizen had a vote. Others note that women, slaves, and foreigners were excluded, painting a picture of a system that was more exclusive than democratic in practice. But here, in the quiet of your home, you're reminded that Athens' democracy, for all its flaws, still gives you a voice, a chance to shape the world around you. The day ahead awaits, and with it, the promise of conversation, debate, and action. You wrap a simple cloak around your shoulders, preparing to leave your modest home behind and step into the heart of the city. You're ready for whatever this day will bring. As you step outside into the warm glow of the rising sun, the streets of Athens begin to come alive. The first rays of sunlight pour over the terracotta rooftops, casting a golden hue over the city. The sounds of the city echo in the quiet streets, merchants setting up their stalls, children running and playing, and the distant clamor of workers beginning their day. The scent of freshly baked bread wafts through the air, mixing with the earthy aroma of olive trees and the tang of the sea in the distance. You take a deep breath, inhaling the life of the city around you. There's no rush in Athens, at least not yet. You walk through the streets, your sandals tapping softly against the stone, passing by homes where the faint sound of morning rituals can be heard. A dog barks in the distance, and the low murmur of early conversations rises and falls like a soft melody. The narrow alleyways open into larger squares, leading you directly to the agora, the bustling marketplace and beating heart of the city. The agora is a place of constant motion, a gathering of minds, goods, and ideas. You can already hear the merchants calling out their wares. Fresh figs, fresh fish, as the smell of produce, wine, and spices fills the air. It's a sensory overload, but in a way that's comforting, familiar. You pass the pottery stalls, the vivid colors of handcrafted amphorae and vases glinting in the sunlight, and the stalls overflowing with fresh bread and meats, the bustling energy of the market pulling you forward. The agora isn't just about buying and selling. It's where politics are made, where the future of Athens is decided. In fact, it is the very lifeblood of the city's democratic system, where citizens gather to discuss, debate, and decide on the course of Athens' future. It's here that you'll find the most important people in Athens, the politicians, the philosophers, the military leaders, and of course, the everyday citizen like yourself, participating in the discourse of democracy. You make your way through the throngs of people, waving casually at a few familiar faces, your neighbors, fellow citizens, some acquaintances you've run into 1,000 times. But today, you're heading towards something a little more intriguing. As you pass the crowded stalls, you spot a group of philosophers gathered near the Temple of Hephaestus. Their conversation is loud and passionate, with hand gestures emphasizing their points. The topic of discussion? Ethics, politics, and justice. Historians still argue whether the agora was merely a marketplace, or whether it truly functioned as a space for the flourishing of democracy. Some believe the agora was the democratic pulse of Athens, where ideas were exchanged, decisions were made, and the democratic spirit thrived. Others suggest that, despite its public nature, the power dynamics at play favored the wealthy and influential. Regardless, you know the agora is where the city's most important events unfold. You stop to listen for a moment, drawn into the philosophical fervor. One of the philosophers, a man named Anaximander, is explaining his theory of the cosmos, how everything in the universe is interconnected, and how the balance of forces is what keeps the world in harmony. Another philosopher, Themistocles, counters, arguing that it is the human soul and will that drive the course of events, not some abstract universal force. As they debate, you can't help but smile. This, you think, is what makes Athens great. The ability to question everything, to engage in the most profound discussions about the nature of existence, democracy, and the world around you. In no other city are these debates as open or as public. This is the Athenian way, the belief that every citizen should have a voice, that every opinion matters, no matter how small or fleeting. You linger for a moment, watching the philosophers and listening to their argument. The air is thick with the weight of their words, each one building upon the last. It's a beautiful thing, really, the way words can shift the course of thinking, change minds, and spark new ideas. And you realize that, in some ways, you are part of this process. You, too, are a citizen of Athens, and while you may not be a philosopher, your opinions, your thoughts, your voice matter in this city. The sound of footsteps and raised voices brings you back to the present. A group of men is walking toward you, and one of them, a friend, waves you over. The discussion is shifting toward the political climate, and you know that you'll be expected to add your thoughts on the matter. Athens may be a city of philosophers, but it is also a city of politicians, and today's discussions are no less critical to the future of the city. Historians still debate whether Athens' intellectual pursuits were more significant than its military and political achievements. Some argue that the true power of Athens lay in its ability to produce great thinkers and innovators, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, whose ideas continue to influence the world today. Others claim that the city's military prowess and political influence, leadership in the Delian League, and the power of its navy were what made Athens truly great. But whatever the answer, it's clear that both the mind and the sword were essential to Athens' success. With that, you join your friends, ready to dive into another round of political discussions. The future of Athens is in your hands, and you are determined to make your voice heard. As you move deeper into the agora, the air thickens with the noise of merchants and citizens alike. The marketplace is in full swing, now people haggling, shouting, bargaining for the best price. It's a dynamic environment where the exchange of goods is just as important as the exchange of ideas. You glance at the pottery, the leather goods, the brightly colored cloths, all the essential parts of Athenian daily life. And yet, while you appreciate the commerce that fuels the city, your mind is still occupied by the conversation that just began. Politics and philosophy await. Your friends gather in a circle, already embroiled in a heated debate. You join them, taking your place among the group as they discuss the day's pressing matters. Today, the topic of conversation is a new law proposed by one of Athens' elected officials, a reform to the way soldiers are trained and equipped. As usual, there's a divide in opinion. Some argue that the new law will strengthen Athens and make it better prepared for any potential conflict. Others, however, feel it's too risky, too focused on military might at the expense of Athens' intellectual and cultural values. You listen, intrigued, as your friends weigh in. Some are fervent in their support of the law, pointing to the growing tensions with Sparta and other city-states. Athens, they argue, cannot afford to be unprepared, and the new law will ensure that the city remains a military powerhouse, a force to be reckoned with. Others, more cautious, remind the group that Athens' strength lies not in its military alone, but in its ability to engage in commerce, culture, and philosophy. To focus too much on war could lead the city down a dangerous path, one that might diminish its intellectual vibrancy. Historians still debate the balance between Athens' military prowess and its cultural achievements. Some argue that the city's dominance in the arts, philosophy, and literature would not have been possible without the protection of its powerful navy and military. Others contend that the city's greatest achievements came not from war, but from its democratic ideals and intellectual pursuits. Either way, it's clear that Athens' military and cultural sides were deeply intertwined. They shaped the city into the formidable force it was during the Golden Age. As the debate continues, your thoughts drift to your role in this conversation. You, like every other Athenian, have the right to voice your opinion. Your vote matters. Your thoughts matter. You realize that these moments, this exchange of ideas, this back and forth, are what make Athens unique. In no other city do ordinary citizens have the ability to directly impact the future of their nation in such an open and democratic way. As the conversation dies down, the group slowly breaks off, each of you heading in a different direction, reflecting on the discussion. The city is always moving, always buzzing with energy, and your day is far from over. You decide to take a walk to the southern edge of Athens to clear your mind, stepping out of the agora and into the warmer air of the city's streets. The path toward the gymnasium leads you through a quieter part of the city, away from the commercial bustle. The sounds of the marketplace fade as you head toward the outskirts, where the gymnasium awaits a place of physical training, but also a space for intellectual exchange. Athletes train here, honing their bodies and their minds, preparing for the great athletic festivals that draw crowds from all over the city. The gymnasium is a place where you'll find a mix of both the body and the mind, where athletes work just as hard on their mental stamina as their physical endurance. It's an essential part of Athenian life, where discipline, strength, and philosophy come together. You walk through the open courtyard, hearing the sound of heavy footsteps, the grunt of exertion as athletes wrestle, run, and train. The gymnasium is always active. There's no slowing down in this city, and no time for rest if you wish to participate in its success. Historians still argue whether the gymnasium was a purely physical institution, or whether it played a more significant role in shaping the intellectual life of Athens. Some argue that the gymnasium was a place of learning and socializing, where young men could engage with their peers in philosophical discussions, while also training their bodies. Others claim that the physical aspect of the gymnasium's role in training soldiers was the primary focus, with intellectual pursuits secondary at best. But you, standing here and watching the athletes, realize that both sides are true in their own way. The gymnasium is a place of balance, a place where the mind and body must work together to build the ideal Athenian citizen. You linger for a while, watching the athletes train, feeling the energy of the place settle into your own body. There's something invigorating about being here surrounded by those who are pushing themselves to their limits, both mentally and physically. It reminds you of the city's great ideals, the idea that every citizen should be well-rounded, prepared to contribute to Athens in all aspects of life, from philosophy to politics, from war to art. After a while, the sun begins to climb higher, casting long shadows across the gymnasium courtyard. You decide it's time to head home for a quick break before the midday meal. Athens isn't just a city of great minds. It's a city of great movement, great energy. The work of the city never stops, and neither do its citizens. As you walk back toward your home, you feel a deep sense of pride. Athens, for all its flaws, is a city that has shaped you. Here, you have the freedom to debate, to discuss, to contribute. You are part of something larger, something greater. And that, you realize, is what makes Athens truly unique. It's not just the art, the philosophy, or the power of its military. It's the idea that every citizen plays a part in the city's story. After a brief break at home, you feel a renewed sense of purpose. The midday heat is already setting in, and the city of Athens continues to pulse with energy. You decide to venture out once again, this time to join the other citizens in one of the most beloved traditions of the day, lunch. In Athens, meals are more than just about food. They are about camaraderie, conversation, and connection. As you step outside, the familiar sights and sounds of the city greet you once more. The sun is high now, casting long, warm shadows over the narrow streets. You make your way towards one of the many small tavernas that line the city. This one is tucked between two larger buildings, its stone walls cool and inviting. The door creaks open as you enter, and the warmth of the place immediately surrounds you. It's bustling inside, with merchants and citizens alike gathering for a midday break, enjoying a moment of respite before returning to their duties. The host greets you warmly, leading you to an empty seat at one of the long wooden tables. You take a seat, the smooth surface of the table cool beneath your hands, and as you settle in, the smells of the meal begin to fill the air. The aromas of roasted lamb, freshly baked bread, and savory herbs mix together. The noise of conversation swells around you as fellow diners laugh, chat, and share the events of their day. The clinking of glasses and the clatter of plates create a comforting backdrop to the meal. As you wait for your food, your mind shifts to the city's politics. The discussions of the morning still linger in your thoughts. The proposal for military reform, the tensions with other city-states, and the growing divide between those who want to strengthen Athens' military might and those who fear the consequences of war. These thoughts are interrupted by the arrival of your meal, a generous portion of lamb, served alongside warm, crusty bread and a bowl of olives. You dive in, savoring each bite, but the conversation around you pulls your attention back once again. A nearby table is full of fellow citizens, discussing the very same issues you and your friends debated earlier. One man, a middle-aged merchant with a deep voice, argues passionately for the new military law. Athens cannot stand idly by while Sparta strengthens its forces. We must act now to ensure that our city remains strong, both in philosophy and in arms. He says, his words rising above the others. There's an intensity to his tone that commands attention, and several diners nod in agreement, while others remain skeptical. As you listen, you realize that Athens, for all its glory, is also a city divided. The very democracy that allows for free speech also allows for intense disagreement. It's this tension that shapes the city's identity, constantly challenging its citizens to balance their personal beliefs with the collective good. You take a sip of wine, feeling the rich taste slide down your throat, and reflect on the gravity of these decisions. War is never far from the mind of an Athenian, and the weight of responsibility feels particularly heavy on this warm afternoon. Historians still argue whether the Athenian approach to democracy, where decisions about war and peace were made by the people, was a strength or a flaw. Some point to the effectiveness of the assembly, where every citizen could voice their opinion, as a model for modern democracy. Others suggest that the ability to make such critical decisions in a public forum, with emotions running high and no clear leader to guide the process, led to reckless decisions. Either way, the idea that every citizen could participate in such decisions was revolutionary, and it's clear that these debates continue to shape the very fabric of Athens. The meal continues, and the conversation shifts to lighter topics, the upcoming Panathenaic Games, the latest theater productions, and the gossip of the day. But the weight of the earlier discussion still lingers in your mind. You realize that, as an Athenian, you are part of a city that is constantly evolving, constantly questioning, debating, and rethinking its course. It's both exhilarating and exhausting. You finish your meal, paying the host with a few drachmas, and rise from the table. The midday heat has reached its peak, and you decide to take a short walk to clear your mind. The tavern fades into the background as you step outside, and once again, the sounds of the city greet you. The agora is in the distance, still alive with activity, and the path to the Acropolis lies just ahead. But today, you decide to visit a different part of the city, the temple to Athena. The walk toward the temple is peaceful, the quiet streets providing a brief escape from the frenetic energy of the agora. As you approach the temple, you can already see the massive columns rising into the sky, towering over the surrounding buildings. The beauty of the temple never fails to take your breath away. It stands as a symbol of everything Athens holds dear: wisdom, strength, and beauty. You stop for a moment, allowing yourself to take in the grandeur of the structure. The stone is warm under the sun, the air fragrant with the smell of incense from offerings made to the goddess Athena. You sit on one of the nearby steps, allowing the calmness of the temple to wash over you. Here, in the shadow of the gods, you can reflect on the city and your place in it. There is a quiet peace to this moment, one that's difficult to find in the hustle and bustle of Athens. The city, for all its vibrancy, is also a place of contradictions. War and peace, intellect and action, democracy and division. But in this quiet moment, you can understand why Athens is so great. It's not just the debates or the laws of the culture. It's the ability to find balance in the chaos. Historians still argue whether Athens' greatness came from its architecture and artistic achievements or from its intellectual and military endeavors. Perhaps as you sit here, it becomes clear that Athens' greatness lies in its ability to embrace all these aspects at once. You rise from the steps, the quiet contemplation giving you a renewed sense of clarity. The city continues to move around you, but for now, you're ready for whatever comes next. You stand at the foot of the grand temple, the towering columns of the Parthenon stretching toward the sky like the fingers of the gods themselves. The weight of Athens' history presses down on you, and for a brief moment, you forget the noise, the heat, the ceaseless motion of the city. Here, in the shadow of Athena, everything seems quiet, even sacred. The hustle of the marketplace, the heated political debates, and the vigorous discussions about war and peace feel a world away. In this space, time seems to slow, offering you a rare pause, a moment to reflect, to think about what it means to be part of this city, this democracy. You've seen the temple countless times before, yet it never ceases to amaze you. The intricacies of its design, the way the marble catches the light, the delicate carvings that tell the stories of gods and heroes. It's a testament to the city's reverence for the divine. Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, watches over Athens with an eternal gaze. Her presence here is a reminder of the city's dual nature, its intellectual achievements and its military power, its constant tension between peace and conflict, reason and action. As you sit on the steps of the temple, your thoughts wander. Athens, for all its beauty and intellectual grandeur, is a city at war. The threat from Sparta looms ever closer, and the tension between the democratic ideals you cherish and the necessity of military action weighs heavily on your mind. You think about the debates you've had over the last few days, the arguments over military reforms, the tension between those who want to protect Athens at all costs and those who fear that the city's focus on military power could strip away its cultural and philosophical essence. Historians still argue whether Athens' emphasis on democracy and philosophy was sustainable in the face of external threats. Some suggest that the Athenian way of life, with its emphasis on intellectual freedom and open debate, made it vulnerable to attack. Others contend that Athens' ability to adapt, to merge its democratic ideals with military strength, was the key to its success. Either way, it's clear that Athens faced constant challenges, both from within and from outside its borders. And as a citizen, you are part of that struggle, part of the city's ongoing quest to balance its ideals with the harsh realities of the world. You stand up, stretching your legs, and begin your walk back down the hill. The temple slowly fades into the distance as the city's sounds begin to filter back into your awareness. The soft rustling of leaves in the breeze, the distant chatter of the agora, the clinking of metal from the workshop district, all of it returns to fill the space. You walk at a leisurely pace, taking in the city, appreciating its complexity, its contradictions. You are part of this great experiment, this grand endeavor that is Athens. And as you walk, you can't help but feel a sense of pride. The path toward the Acropolis is well-trodden, familiar, but each time you walk it, you see something new. The changing light, the shifting shadows, the faces of your fellow citizens. Each day offers a new perspective, a new understanding of the city and its people. As you reach the base of the hill, you can see the agora in the distance, still full of life. People moving about, making decisions, buying, selling, arguing, debating. Athens is never still. Even now, at this hour, when the sun begins to dip lower in the sky, there is a constant hum of activity. You can hear the laughter of children playing, the voices of traders calling out their prices, the familiar rattle of carts making their way through the narrow streets. This is the Athens you know, alive, vibrant, full of energy. It's a city of contrasts, of warriors and poets, of scholars and soldiers. And yet, it is all woven together by a single thread, the belief in democracy. Historians still debate whether Athens' strength came from its democracy or from its military prowess. Some suggest that the city's great power lay in its ability to unify diverse voices, to listen to the opinions of all citizens and make decisions based on the collective will. Others argue that Athens' military strength, its navy, its ability to wage war effectively, was the true source of its power. Either way, it's clear that the Athenian way of life is a complex balance of ideas, action, and constant adaptation. As you walk through the city, you realize that you are part of this balance, part of the ongoing experiment that is Athens. The evening begins to settle in, the sky turning shades of pink and orange as the sun dips lower. The heat of the day starts to wane, replaced by the cooler air of the evening. You walk along the streets, making your way toward home. As you pass through the marketplace, you see familiar faces, your neighbors, fellow citizens, friends. Everyone is in a hurry, moving with purpose, eager to finish their day's work and head home for the evening meal. Some are still debating politics, some are gossiping, but all are contributing to the ongoing life of Athens. You finally reach your home, a small but comfortable dwelling tucked into one of the quieter parts of the city. It's not much, but it's yours. You push open the door and step inside, the coolness of the interior a welcome relief from the heat outside. Your family is already there, your wife preparing the evening meal, your children laughing and playing, their voices filling the air with joy. You sit down at the table, joining them for a simple but satisfying meal bread, olives, cheese, and wine. The conversation flows easily, but your mind still drifts to the events of the day. The debates, the discussions, the way Athens seems to be constantly at a crossroads. There's so much to consider, so much to think about. But for now, in this moment, you can put those thoughts aside and enjoy the warmth of your family, the comfort of your home, and the peaceful rhythm of everyday life in Athens. As the meal comes to an end, the evening fades into night. The city outside grows quieter, the sounds of the marketplace and the streets giving way to the soft murmurs of the night. You sit with your family, reflecting on the day, on the discussions, and on the role Athens plays in shaping your life. And as you prepare for bed, you are filled with a quiet sense of purpose. The day may be over, but the story of Athens is ongoing, an ever-evolving narrative of democracy, philosophy, and human endeavor. The quiet of the evening begins to settle in as you finish the last sips of wine, the day's noise slowly fading into the background. You take a deep breath and lean back in your chair, letting the warmth of the meal and the soft presence of your family wrap around you. The peaceful domesticity of this moment stands in stark contrast to the discussions, the heated debates, and the uncertainty of the political landscape you've encountered throughout the day. You're reminded that, despite Athens' grandeur and its influence, it is the small moments, these simple connections, that keep it all together. You rise from the table, stretching your legs, and make your way toward the small courtyard behind your house. The sky above is deepening into shades of purple and blue, the first stars beginning to twinkle in the vast Athenian sky. The cool evening breeze carries with it the scent of the earth, the salt of the sea, and the faint trace of incense from the nearby temples. It's a calm, serene moment, one that you cherish in the midst of the relentless energy of the city. As you stand in the courtyard, gazing up at the stars, your mind begins to wander again. You think back to the philosophers you heard earlier today in the agora. They were discussing the nature of virtue, justice, and the role of the gods in human affairs. You had been intrigued by their words, even if you didn't fully agree with everything they said. The idea that one could seek knowledge for its own sake, That the pursuit of wisdom was the highest calling was a powerful one. Yet you wonder how practical these ideals are when faced with the harsh realities of life politics, war, and survival. In Athens, the tension between intellectual pursuit and practical action is never far from the surface. The great minds of the city debate lofty ideas, but the people must also confront the pressing needs of everyday life. As you stand in your courtyard, you realize that the balance between these two forces is what gives Athens its unique character. It's a city where philosophy and politics go hand in hand. Historians still debate whether Athens' greatest strength was its intellectual achievements or its ability to apply those ideas in the real world. Some argue that the city's great philosophers, playwrights, and artists were its true legacy, while others point to its military and political dominance as the true measure of its power. Yet, as you stand in the cool night air, you come to understand that both sides are necessary for Athens to thrive. Without the ideas that shaped its democracy, Athens would not have had the framework for its military prowess. Without its military strength, Athens would have been vulnerable to attack, unable to defend its ideals. You take another deep breath, letting the cool night air fill your lungs. The sound of the city is distant now, replaced by the rustling of leaves in the breeze. You feel a deep connection to this place, to this city, which has shaped your life in ways both large and small. Athens is not just a city of grand buildings, rich in history and culture. It is a living, breathing entity, full of contradictions, passions, and dreams. It's a place where every citizen, no matter their role, is part of the larger story. And for a moment, you feel as though you, too, are part of something much bigger than yourself. The moment passes, and the soft calls of distant voices reach you from the streets. You know that the night will soon give way to a new day, filled with more debates, more conversations, and more decisions. The city never truly rests. As you return inside, the warmth of your family and the comfort of your home welcome you back, offering a brief reprieve from the complexities of the world outside. As you prepare for bed, you reflect on the day's events, the discussions in the agora, the debates over military power and democracy, the moments of quiet reflection at the temple. You've seen firsthand how ideas can shape the future of a city, how the clash of opinions and values can drive progress or lead to division. Yet you also know that it is the small, everyday moments, the connections with family, the quiet reflections in the courtyard that make Athens truly great. It's not just the power, the politics, or the philosophy. It's the people, the citizens, who give the city its heart and soul. You close your eyes, the soft sounds of the city fading as you drift into sleep. The story of Athens is far from over, and tomorrow will bring new challenges, new debates, and new opportunities. But for now, in this quiet moment, you rest easy knowing that you are part of something much larger than yourself, a city that will continue to shape the course of history. The dawn comes swiftly, the first light of the sun piercing through the cracks of your simple wooden shutters. A soft breeze stirs the air, bringing with it the faint, familiar sense of the earth waking up. You blink your eyes open, not quite ready to leave the warmth of your bed, but the sounds of the city are already reaching your ears. The streets are alive once again, the low hum of chatter, the clanging of metal as the blacksmith begins his day, the sound of children playing in the distance. Athens never truly rests. The city is constantly in motion, always alive, always evolving. As you slowly rise, stretching your arms above your head, the coolness of the stone floor greets your bare feet. The morning rituals begin once again, cold water splashed on your face to wash away the remnants of sleep. The quiet moments of personal reflection before stepping into the world of political debates, philosophical discussions, and everyday work that make up the fabric of Athenian life. You get dressed in the same simple cloak you wear each day, the coarse fabric a reminder of your station in life. In Athens, a citizen's worth isn't measured by the opulence of their clothing, but by their engagement in the affairs of the city. You're ready for the day ahead, knowing that once you step outside, the world will once again pull you into its ongoing cycle. Today, the agora beckons you once again. The center of Athenian life is always bustling with activity merchants, politicians, philosophers, and citizens like yourself, all coming together to exchange ideas, goods, and opinions. The marketplace is where decisions are made, where news spreads, and where the pulse of the city can be felt most strongly. It's where you'll meet your friends, engage in lively debates, and find out what's happening in the world of Athens today. As you walk through the streets of the city, the sun climbs higher in the sky. The familiar path toward the agora feels comfortable beneath your feet. You pass by the marketplace, taking in the smells of freshly baked bread, roasted meats, and the scent of olive oil and herbs. The city feels familiar, and yet you know that each day brings something new. You've seen the traders setting up their stalls, the philosophers gathering in groups to discuss the latest ideas, and the artisans working diligently at their craft. When you enter the agora, the scene is as vibrant as ever. You hear the chatter of the crowd, the low hum of voices debating everything from politics to the latest plays. There are traders shouting out the prices of their goods, the sound of coins clinking as deals are made, and the laughter of children running between the stalls. It's a place of commerce, but it's also a place of great intellectual activity. Today, you see a familiar face, a philosopher named Theodorus. The topic today is justice, what it truly means to live a just life. You step closer, drawn by the allure of the conversation. Theodorus is a well-known figure in Athens, famous for his ability to ask difficult questions that make even the most learned philosophers pause and reflect. His words are always sharp, challenging, and thought-provoking. Justice, Theodorus says, is not merely about laws and punishments. It is the harmony of the soul, the balance between desire, reason, and spirit. Only when these elements are in perfect harmony can a person truly be just. But how can we achieve this harmony in a world filled with so much chaos and conflict? You listen intently as the conversation grows more animated. Some of the listeners agree with Theodorus, offering their own thoughts on the role of personal discipline and inner peace in achieving justice. Others, however, counter that justice must be defined by the laws of the city, that without a clear set of rules to guide people's actions, there can be no true justice. The debate swells, with voices rising and falling as different perspectives clash. Historians still argue whether the Athenian approach to justice was more philosophical or practical. Some believe that the city's greatest strength was its ability to integrate philosophy into the political and legal systems. Others point out that Athens' laws were often harsh, with punishment meted out for even minor offenses, suggesting that the city's true focus was on maintaining order and control. Either way, it's clear that the idea of justice was never far from the minds of the Athenian people, who constantly grappled with what it meant to live justly within the framework of their democratic society. The debate continues for a while, with new voices adding their opinions and thoughts to the discussion. You can see the passion in their eyes, the energy that drives them to engage in these intellectual exchanges. It's the very heart of Athens, the belief that ideas can shape the future of the city, that every citizen has a role to play in determining the path forward. You can feel the weight of responsibility, knowing that the decisions made here today could influence the course of history. Eventually, the conversation begins to wind down, and you find yourself reflecting on the ideas that were shared. The idea of justice, of balancing the soul, resonates with you. It's something that feels deeply personal, something you strive for every day in your own life. But you also recognize the complexity of it, the challenges that come with trying to live a just life in a world that is far from perfect. As the sun climbs higher, you decide to step away from the group and take a walk through the rest of the agora. There's more to see, more to hear, and more to learn. Athens is a city of constant motion, where ideas are always flowing, always evolving. You find yourself energized by the conversations you've overheard, eager to contribute your own thoughts and opinions to the ongoing debates that shape this great city. With the agora buzzing around you, you feel more connected to the rhythm of Athens, more aware of your role in its ever-changing narrative. The day is far from over, and there is still much to experience. But for now, you are content to walk through the marketplace, knowing that you are part of something bigger than yourself, a city that has shaped your life and will continue to shape the lives of those who follow. The streets of Athens are alive with the hum of everyday life as you continue your walk through the agora. The air is warm now, the sun high in the sky, casting sharp shadows across the cobblestones. You pass the grand statues of the gods, the silent witnesses to the city's changing tides, and you can't help but feel a sense of awe as you walk past them. These gods, immortalized in marble and bronze, represent everything Athens holds dear: wisdom, strength, and beauty. They are not just figures and myths. They are part of the fabric of Athenian life, influencing the very decisions made in the agora, in the courts, and in the homes of citizens. You take a moment to pause and look up at the statues, their eyes gazing down at you with a sense of timeless wisdom. These gods, in all their glory, have watched over Athens for centuries, witnessing the rise and fall of empires, the growth of democracy, and the triumphs and tragedies of the human experience. And yet, here you are, a mere mortal, walking the same streets they once graced. It's a humbling thought, one that reminds you of the delicate balance between human ambition and divine influence in Athens. As you continue through the agora, you notice a group of citizens gathered around the edge of the marketplace, deep in conversation. They are discussing the recent developments in the city's political landscape, the new laws being proposed, the debates in the assembly, and the constant tug-of-war between different factions. You can hear the intensity in their voices, the urgency in their words. Athens is a city of action, but also of reflection. And today, the pulse of political life seems to beat louder than ever. You find yourself drawn into the conversation, exchanging ideas with your fellow citizens. The topic of the day is the growing tension with Sparta, the potential for war, and what that could mean for the future of Athens. Some argue that the city must defend itself at all costs. That war is inevitable and necessary for the preservation of Athens' power. Others, more cautious, suggest that Athens' strength lies in its ability to avoid conflict, to negotiate and engage in diplomacy rather than battle. Historians still debate whether Athens' military strategy or its diplomatic approach was more successful in maintaining its dominance. Some argue that Athens' naval power was the key to its success, while others suggest that its ability to navigate alliances and foster trade was what allowed it to thrive. Either way, one thing is clear. Athens was a city that understood the importance of power, both military and political, and knew how to wield it in pursuit of its goals. As the conversation continues, you realize just how deeply intertwined Athens' identity is with the constant struggle between war and peace. This city, with all its great accomplishments, its philosophers, its artists, its democracy, is also a city that must constantly defend itself against external threats. It's a city that thrives on the tension between intellectual and military pursuits, between the desire for knowledge and the need for survival. You look around at the faces of your fellow citizens, each one contributing their thoughts, their opinions, their hopes for the future. It's a reminder that Athens is not just a city of great minds and great warriors. It is a city of people, of individuals who each have a part to play in the ongoing story of the city. No matter your station in life, no matter your background, you are part of this grand experiment in democracy. You have a voice, and that voice matters. As the conversation winds down, you take a moment to reflect on everything you've heard today. The philosophical discussions, the political debates, the ideas that have been shared. It's a lot to process, but in Athens, that's how it is. Ideas are constantly being exchanged, constantly being tested and challenged. There's a sense of urgency to it, a feeling that every conversation could shape the future of the city. And in a way, it does. Each word, each idea, is part of the larger tapestry of Athens' greatness. You decide to step away from the group for a while, needing a break from the intensity of the conversation. The sun is now at its peak, casting a harsh light over the agora. You wander toward the edge of the market, where the noise begins to fade into the background. The air is cooler here, the shade of nearby buildings offering a brief respite from the heat. You take a seat on one of the stone benches, feeling the coolness of the stone seep into your skin, and let your mind wander. As you sit in the quiet of the moment, you think back to the philosopher's words earlier in the day. Justice, wisdom, war, peace. These ideas have been at the heart of Athens for centuries, and they continue to shape the city. You think about your own role in this ongoing story. You are a citizen of Athens, and that carries with it a responsibility to contribute to the city's future, to take part in its debates, its decisions, its struggles. You gaze out at the agora, the heart of Athens. People continue to pass by, engaged in their own lives, their own pursuits. It's a reminder that Athens is not just a city of philosophers and warriors, but a city of everyday people, each contributing in their own way. And in this moment, as you watch the world move around you, you realize that the story of Athens is not just about the great minds and the great battles. It's about the people, the citizens, the ones who make the city what it is. Historians still debate whether the true greatness of Athens lies in its intellectual achievements or its military power. Some argue that the philosophers, playwrights, and artists are the true legacy of the city, while others suggest that Athens' military prowess, its naval dominance, and its political influence are what made it great. But as you sit on that bench, watching the world around you, you realize that both sides are necessary for Athens to thrive. Without the minds that shape its ideals, Athens would have no foundation. Without the power to defend those ideals, it would have no future. And so you sit, content in the knowledge that you are part of something much larger than yourself, something that will endure for generations to come. Athens, the cradle of democracy, philosophy, and art, is alive in you, in every citizen who walks its streets, debates its laws, and shapes its destiny. As the day progresses, the sun begins its slow descent in the sky, casting long, soft shadows over the agora. The activity in the marketplace has begun to wind down, though it remains as lively as ever. You take a deep breath, the warmth of the day slowly giving way to the cooler evening air, and begin walking back toward your home. The rhythm of the city continues, but now it feels a little more relaxed, a momentary pause before the evening truly begins. You walk down the familiar streets, passing by the familiar faces of your neighbors. Some are returning from the agora, others from the gymnasium, still others making their way to the various temples and shrines scattered throughout the city. The noise is softer now, the chatter of the marketplace replaced by the distant calls of vendors packing up their goods for the day, the soft murmur of conversations spilling from open doors. As you make your way toward your house, you pass by a small group of citizens, their conversation focused on the upcoming festival. The Panathenaic Games are fast approaching, a time when the entire city will come together to celebrate its patron goddess, Athena. Athletes from across the city will compete in various athletic contests, while the people of Athens will gather to watch, cheer, and give thanks for Athena's protection. The idea of the festival is exciting athletic contests, musical performances, sacrifices to the gods. But as you listen to the conversation, you realize that there is more to the festival than just the pageantry. It is a time when the people of Athens come together to reaffirm their shared identity, to remind themselves of what makes this city great. It's a celebration of Athenian values, strength, beauty, wisdom, and democracy. But beneath the surface, it's also a time to reflect on what the future holds, on the challenges Athens faces, both from within and from without. You catch yourself thinking about the Panathenaic Games and how the competition could be seen as a metaphor for the larger political and military struggles Athens faces. The athletes train for months to prepare for the games, pushing their bodies to the limits to prove their strength. Similarly, Athens must constantly train its military and its citizens to be prepared for whatever challenges lie ahead. The games may be a time of celebration, but they are also a reminder of the constant need for vigilance, for strength, and for unity. As you approach your home, the familiar sounds of family life greet you. The laughter of children, the hum of conversation, and the scent of dinner being prepared fill the air. You step inside, greeted by the warmth and comfort of your household. The table is already set, and the evening meal is being prepared. It's a simple meal, but one made with care. There is bread, cheese, olives, and a bit of fish, along with a jug of wine to wash it all down. It's nothing extravagant, but it's enough, a small, peaceful respite from the tumultuous world outside. Historians still debate the role of women in Athens. Some argue that women were largely excluded from public life, their roles confined to the home, while others point to the influence of women in religious and domestic matters, suggesting that they played a more significant role in Athenian society than is often recognized. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. In your home, you are reminded of the quiet strength of the women in your life, the ones who prepare the meals, manage the household, and keep the city running, even though they are often overlooked in the history books. As you sit down to eat with your family, the conversation flows easily. You talk about the events of the day, the debates in the agora, the discussions about war and peace, the latest gossip, and the plans for the upcoming festival. The day's worries melt away as you enjoy the company of those you love. There's no rush, no need to hurry. The meal is simple, but the warmth of the moment is enough to fill your heart. After dinner, you take a moment to step outside again, feeling the cool evening air on your face. The stars have begun to appear, dotting the sky above with their timeless brilliance. You take a deep breath, feeling the weight of the day lift from your shoulders. The city continues to hum around you, but the peace of the evening settles in, a brief moment of tranquility before the cycle begins anew tomorrow. As you stand there, gazing at the stars, your thoughts drift to the larger questions of life justice, democracy, and the future of Athens. You think about the gods, about Athena's watchful gaze over the city, and about the role you play in the grand experiment of Athenian democracy. There is still so much to be done, so much to discuss, so many decisions to be made. But for now, in this moment, you can rest. The day has ended, and tomorrow will bring new challenges, new debates, and new opportunities. Historians still argue whether Athens was truly a beacon of democracy, or whether it was a city in constant turmoil, with too many contradictions to sustain its ideals. Some point to its intellectual and artistic achievements as proof of its greatness, while others focus on its military might and political influence. But tonight, as you stand in the quiet of the evening, you realize that it is not one thing that makes Athens great. It is the combination of ideas, action, and the constant push towards something greater. Athens is a city of constant change, of perpetual motion. And as a citizen, you are part of that journey shaping the future of the city. One conversation, one vote, one day at a time. You head back inside, ready for rest, knowing that tomorrow will bring a new chapter in the ongoing story of Athens. The night wraps around you like a soft blanket as you retreat into the comfort of your home. The stars above cast a pale light through the cracks in the wooden shutters, and you can hear the distant hum of the city slowly quieting as its citizens prepare for rest. The rhythmic flow of Athens never truly stops, but there's a peacefulness that comes with the night, a sense of calm that settles over the city and its people. As you slip under your blankets, the day's events seem to fade away, but the thoughts linger, drifting through your mind like the whispers of the wind. You close your eyes, feeling the coolness of the stone floor against your feet and the warmth of your family's presence around you. For a brief moment, you can forget the debates, the struggles, and the constant tension between Athens' philosophical ideals and its pragmatic reality. In this quiet, private space, you can simply exist. The world outside may be filled with noise, but here there is peace. Here, you can find comfort in the familiar your home, your family, your place in the grand story of Athens. As you drift into a light sleep, your mind replays the events of the day, the discussion in the agora, the debate over Athens' future, the ideas of justice and virtue that were shared. You wonder about the direction the city is headed, about the decisions that will be made tomorrow and in the days to come. But even as you contemplate the weight of it all, you realize that these thoughts are shared by every citizen of Athens, everyone who calls this city home. Each person, whether they know it or not, contributes to the ongoing story of Athens, shaping its future with every word spoken, every action taken, and every decision made. Historians still debate the true nature of Athenian democracy. Was it a system that truly empowered its citizens? Or was it a fragile construct that teetered on the edge of chaos? Some argue that Athens' commitment to open debate and the voice of the people was its greatest strength, while others point to the constant political infighting and the influence of wealthy elites as a flaw in the system. Regardless of where one falls in this debate, the truth is that Athens was a city built on the idea that every citizen had a role to play, that every voice mattered. And as you lay in bed, you feel the weight of that responsibility, knowing that your actions, however small, are part of something larger. You drift deeper into sleep, the quiet sounds of Athens fading into the background, replaced by the soft rhythm of your own breathing. The city continues to stir outside, its energy never truly fading, always shifting, always evolving. Tomorrow will bring more debates, more decisions, and more moments of reflection. But for now, you rest. The night wears on, and the peace of the moment settles around you. The city of Athens, the cradle of democracy, philosophy, and art, continues its ceaseless march through time, carrying with it the hopes, dreams, and struggles of its citizens. And tomorrow, just like today, you will wake up once again, ready to take your place in the ongoing story of Athens. The morning light is soft and warm as it seeps through the cracks of your shutters, waking you gently from your sleep. For a moment, you simply lie there, listening to the familiar sounds of the city stirring around you, the low murmur of voices, the creaking of carts as they roll down the stone streets, the distant laughter of children playing in the alleys. The day is starting, just like it always does, with Athens slowly coming to life. You rise from bed, stretching your arms above your head, and take a moment to appreciate the calm before the storm. Athens is a city full of movement, full of energy, but in these early hours, the streets feel almost peaceful. You step outside, the cool morning air brushing against your skin, and you take a deep breath. The scent of fresh bread from the baker's shop nearby mixes with the earthy aroma of olive oil, reminding you of the simple pleasures that make Athens home. Your walk to the agora today feels different somehow, as if the weight of yesterday's debates is still lingering on your mind. The conversations about military power, justice, and the future of the city are never far from your thoughts. Athens, after all, is a city of contrasts where ideas about democracy and freedom clash with the realities of war and survival. You think back to the philosophers in the agora, to the words about justice and virtue that still echo in your mind. It's hard to escape the feeling that the decisions made here by the citizens, the leaders, and the thinkers will shape the future of this great city. As you approach the agora, the energy of the marketplace begins to wash over you. The hustle and bustle of the traders, the clinking of coins, the murmur of political discussions, it all blends together into the symphony that is Athens. You pass by the familiar stalls, the merchants calling out to you, the scent of fresh goods in the air. It's a place of commerce, yes, but also a place where the intellectual and the practical intersect. You can already hear the philosophers gathered in their usual spots, their voices rising in passionate debate. You decide to join them, eager to listen and contribute. Today, the conversation revolves around the role of citizens in the democratic process. Some argue that Athens' democracy is a model for the world, a beacon of freedom and participation. Others, however, express concerns about the dangers of direct democracy, about the volatility of public opinion, and the potential for mob rule. It's a discussion that has been had before, but it always feels new, always feels urgent. Every citizen here has a stake in the city's future, and every opinion matters. Historians still argue about the true effectiveness of Athenian democracy. Was it a system that empowered the people, or did it merely serve the interests of the wealthy and powerful? Some point to the openness of the assembly, where every citizen could have a voice, as proof that Athens was a truly democratic city. Others argue that the influence of wealth and status skewed the system, making it more of a tool for the elite than the general populace. Either way, it's clear that Athens' democracy was a unique experiment, one that continues to shape the way we think about governance and participation. As the conversation deepens, you can feel the intensity of the debate. Ideas about power, justice, and freedom are being tossed around, examined, and questioned. The stakes feel higher than ever. You can't help but be drawn in, your own thoughts on the matter bubbling to the surface. Athens, for all its greatness, is constantly evolving, constantly questioning its own foundations. And as a citizen, you are part of that evolution. The debate continues for hours, each person contributing their perspective, their thoughts on what Athens stands for, and where it is headed. As the sun begins to dip lower in the sky, you realize that these conversations, these exchanges of ideas, are what make Athens truly great. It's not just the buildings, or the art, or the military might. It's the willingness to question, to engage, to debate, and to shape the future through discourse. The agora begins to empty as the day winds down, but the energy of the debate lingers in the air. You feel both exhausted and exhilarated from the intensity of the discussions, but exhilarated by the knowledge that you are part of something much larger than yourself. Athens is a city that never stops, a city where every citizen plays a role in shaping its future. And as you walk home, the weight of the day's conversation settles in, leaving you with a sense of responsibility, a responsibility to continue contributing to the city's story, to its legacy. As you approach your home, you feel the pull of your family waiting inside, the laughter of your children, the warmth of your wife's smile. These simple joys remind you of the balance that Athens offers. It is a city of great intellectual and political ambition, but it is also a city where the warmth of family and the comfort of home provide respite from the constant intensity of public life. You enter your home, the familiar smells of dinner welcoming you. The warmth of your family envelops you as you sit down to eat, the conversation light and easy. For a moment, the political struggles of the day feel distant, replaced by the simple comfort of being with those you love. You know that tomorrow, the debates will start again, but for now, you can rest, knowing that your city is alive with ideas, and that you, too, are part of this great journey. As the evening settles over Athens, the bustling energy of the agora fades into the quieter rhythm of night. The sounds of the city soften, replaced by the occasional laughter of a neighbor or the distant calls of night watchmen as they make their rounds. Inside your home, the warmth of the fire casts dancing shadows on the walls, and the flickering light feels comforting after the day's activity. Dinner is over, and the simple pleasures of the evening are beginning to take hold. You sit with your family, content in the knowledge that the city is still here, still thriving, despite the endless challenges it faces. The warmth of your loved ones is enough to bring a sense of peace that the rest of the day didn't afford. You talk lightly about the upcoming festival, the Panathenaic Games that are just around the corner. It's a time of celebration, a moment when the city comes together to honor Athena and all she represents. But even in this moment of joy, there is an undercurrent of thoughtfulness. Athens' future is never far from your mind. You begin to reflect on the day, the debates, the conversations, the philosophical musings that floated around you like a cloud of ideas, each one trying to find a place in the larger story of the city. Athens is a place of paradoxes, a society that cherishes freedom and democracy, yet is always at war. A city that prizes the intellect, yet must also confront the physical realities of survival. You think back to the philosophers in the agora, to the powerful ideas about justice, virtue, and the soul. The notions they discussed were lofty, philosophical, almost otherworldly. But they are not just abstract ideas. They are the very foundation of the city you call home. Without these debates, these ideas, Athens would be nothing more than a collection of houses and streets. Historians still argue about how Athens' commitment to philosophy and democracy shaped the city's character. Some believe that the city's greatest strength was its ability to cultivate great minds, while others argue that the political structure itself was its most significant achievement. Regardless of where one falls on that debate, it is clear that the tension between thought and action, between philosophical ideals and political necessity, is what gives Athens its unique identity. Your thoughts wander as the night deepens, and soon your family begins to settle in for the evening. The quiet, soothing rhythm of the night enfolds you, and you can hear the soft rustling of leaves from the courtyard. The weight of the day's concerns begins to lift, replaced by the gentle embrace of the present moment. The steady pulse of Athens, ever constant, continues beyond the walls of your home. But for now, you are content. For now, you can rest, knowing that the future of the city and your place within it remains ever in motion. Historians often look at Athens with admiration, sometimes with skepticism, analyzing its democratic ideals, its military might, and its cultural achievements. They seek to uncover what made the city great and what led to its eventual decline. But in this moment, as you sit in your home, surrounded by your family, you realize that greatness isn't always measured by the events that make it into the history books. Sometimes it's about the quiet, everyday moments, the connections between people, the shared understanding of what it means to be part of something larger than yourself. You make your way to bed, the familiar weight of the blankets comforting you as you lie down. The sounds of the night, the distant hum of the city, the quiet murmurs of your family, all blend into a soothing lullaby that lulls you to sleep. As you close your eyes, you can't help but think about tomorrow, the debates that will unfold, the decisions that will be made, the roles that you and your fellow citizens will play in shaping the future of Athens. The future may be uncertain, but one thing is clear. Athens is a city that never stops, never stands still. It is a place of constant change, of ever-evolving ideas, and of citizens who believe in the power of democracy to shape the world. And you, a humble citizen, are part of that story, part of that great experiment that continues to unfold with each passing day. Tomorrow, the city will wake up again, and so will you. The cycle will begin anew, with more conversations, more decisions, and more reflections on the path forward. But for tonight, in the quiet of your bed, you can rest easy. You are part of something much larger than yourself, something that will leave a mark on history for generations to come. The night slips by quietly, the silence in your home a stark contrast to the constant hustle of the city. Yet, as you sleep, Athens continues its eternal rhythm. Somewhere in the distance, you can hear the faint sounds of the night watchmen, their calls carrying across the city as they guard the streets against any threats. Despite the stillness, there's an undercurrent of life, a reminder that even in the hours of rest, Athens is ever vigilant. When the sun begins to rise again, spilling its golden light over the city, you wait to find that the world has shifted slightly. It's a new day, but Athens, with all its debates and decisions, remains the same. You stretch, feeling the warmth of the morning light streaming through your window. The city feels more alive now than it did last night, its pulse quickening as the day begins. The marketplace is stirring, merchants preparing for another busy day, philosophers gathering to continue their discussions, and citizens moving with purpose toward the agora. Today, like every day, Athens demands your attention. But this morning, there's a quietness to it, a sense that perhaps the city itself is holding its breath waiting for something. You can't quite place it, but there's a palpable sense of anticipation in the air. The sun is still low in the sky, casting long shadows across the streets as you make your way out of your home and onto the bustling streets of Athens. The city is already awake. It always is. But today, there's something different. The air feels cooler than usual, and the familiar sights of the marketplace are almost drowned out by the intensity of the moment. You walk through the streets, passing by vendors who are already calling out their wares, the clink of metal echoing as the blacksmith works, and the sound of footsteps following closely behind you. As you approach the agora, you see the usual crowd, but today there is a different energy in the air. More than the usual debates and trades, there's a sense of something impending, perhaps a decision, a new law, or a challenge that the city must face. People are gathered in groups, talking in hushed tones, their faces serious. The usual fervor of the agora seems subdued today, as if everyone is waiting for something that will change the course of events. You pause and glance around, seeking out familiar faces among the crowd. A group of citizens stand near a statue, their voices rising with each passing minute. You move closer to join them, eager to learn what's on their minds. The conversation is heavy, focused on the city's future and its place in the larger world. The topic is the same as it has been for weeks, the growing tension with Sparta and the looming possibility of war. Historians still argue whether Athens' greatest strength lay in its ability to engage in diplomacy, or in its capacity for military might. Some suggest that Athens' position as a naval power made it the dominant force in the ancient world. Others believe that Athens' legacy was not in its military dominance, but in its cultural and intellectual achievements, its philosophers, playwrights, and artists. But as you listen to the group, you realize that what truly defines Athens isn't any one thing. It's the city's ability to balance all these facets, to be a place of intellectual brilliance and military strength, to navigate both war and peace with equal determination. The conversation around you grows more intense. The debate is no longer about the theory of democracy or philosophy. It's about action. Action that will define the future of the city. You listen carefully, each word weighing heavily on you. The fear of war is palpable. Athens may be proud of its philosophical traditions, but it cannot afford to forget the military prowess that has kept it safe. The question now is how to prepare for a conflict that may change everything. As the discussions swirl around you, you realize how deeply interconnected the ideas of war, democracy, and citizenship are in Athens. Every citizen here, whether they are a philosopher, a merchant, or a laborer, has a stake in the city's future. Every person's voice counts in this grand experiment. And it is this collective engagement that makes Athens truly unique. Democracy here isn't just about voting. It's about participation, about being a part of the city's destiny. The voices around you grow louder, but you find yourself lost in thought. The conversation is dynamic, filled with urgency and fear of what lies ahead. The idea of Athens' future hangs in the balance, and you feel the weight of being a part of that future. It's exhilarating, but also deeply unsettling. The city you love, the city that has shaped your identity and your values, is on the brink of something. The question is, what will it be? You step back from the group, your mind racing. The weight of these decisions of war, peace, democracy, and the gods presses heavily on your shoulders. Athens is a city of contradictions, a city that must constantly balance its philosophical ideals with the harsh reality of survival. And as you walk through the agora, the bustling marketplace around you seems to echo this tension, as if the very city itself is holding its breath, waiting to see what happens next. The sun climbs higher, and the day goes on, but you remain aware of the quiet anticipation in the air. It's a moment in time that will not be forgotten, one that will shape the course of Athens for generations to come. As you walk through the streets, you feel a sense of responsibility, a responsibility to contribute to the ongoing conversation, to help guide the city toward its future. The day carries on, and with it, the relentless pulse of Athens continues, beating with the rhythm of the agora, the marketplace, the streets. It is a city that moves, a city that constantly shifts between the intellectual and the practical, between dreams of democracy and the harsh realities of warfare. You walk through the crowded streets, your thoughts still heavy with the morning's conversation. The weight of the discussions lingers, and as much as you try to shake it off, it follows you like a shadow, a constant reminder of the city's uncertain future. As you pass by the agora, your eyes catch the movement of a small group gathered around the edge of the marketplace. Curiosity piqued, you make your way toward them, and soon enough, you hear the subject of their discussion. It's a topic you've heard before, but today, it strikes a deeper chord. They're talking about the gods specifically, the role of divine favor in the city's affairs. How much influence do the gods truly have over the fate of Athens? The group debates the question with great fervor, some arguing that the gods are directly responsible for the city's successes, while others suggest that it is the will of the people and the decisions of their leaders that shape Athens' destiny. You linger at the edge of the group, absorbing the conversation. The Athenians, as always, are grappling with their place in the cosmos, questioning how much of their fate lies in the hands of the divine and how much is determined by their own actions. It's a debate that has been going on for as long as Athens has existed. To what degree does divine will shape the city's future? And to what degree do humans have the power to forge their own destiny? Historians still argue whether the gods were central to Athenian life, or whether the people merely used religion as a way to cope with their uncertainty. Some argue that the gods were an essential part of the Athenian worldview, influencing everything from politics to personal decisions. Others believe that the gods were more symbolic, serving as cultural markers and ways to explain the unexplainable. Either way, you know that in Athens, the gods are never far from the conversation, even if some prefer to leave them out of the practical affairs of the day. The voices of the group grow more impassioned as they discuss the potential for divine intervention in the city's upcoming struggles. Some suggest that a victory in war could be achieved only through the favor of the gods, while others insist that Athens' strength lies not in the divine, but in its own military might and democratic ideals. There's a palpable tension in the air, a sense that whatever decision is made in the coming months will have lasting consequences, not just for Athens, but for its relationship with the gods themselves. You realize that this moment, this debate, is just one of countless discussions that will shape the future of Athens. And yet, in a city where every citizen has a voice, these conversations carry weight. It is a reminder of the power you and your fellow citizens hold, even in the smallest of discussions. Each thought, each idea, each argument can influence the city in ways that are impossible to predict. The outcome of this debate, whether Athens wins or loses the favor of the gods, will shape the future of the city and its place in the world. As the group disbands, you take a moment to reflect on the conversations you've had today. The weight of democracy, the importance of participation, the questioning of divine favor, and the tension between military strength and intellectual pursuit. Each conversation feels like a thread in the complex tapestry that is Athens. You're part of this tapestry, just like every other citizen. And it is this collective effort, this engagement in the life of the city, that makes Athens what it is. With the debate still fresh in your mind, you decide to take a walk toward the Acropolis. You need a moment to clear your head, to step away from the crowded agora and find a bit of peace. The city, as grand and vibrant as it is, can sometimes be overwhelming. You walk through the narrow streets, the sun high above, casting warm light on the stone buildings, each one telling its own story of time and history. As you ascend toward the Acropolis, the noise of the city begins to fade, replaced by the distant sound of the wind rustling through the trees and the soft clink of chimes in the breeze. At the top of the hill, the Parthenon stands before you, its towering columns an eternal testament to the city's achievements. It's hard to not feel awed by the sight of it, the sheer scale, the intricacy of the design, the way it rises above the city as a symbol of Athenian pride and perseverance. The gods may be watching over Athens, but the Parthenon feels like a statement of humanity's triumph, a reminder that Athens is a city not just of the divine, but of the human spirit. You sit on a stone bench nearby, taking in the view. The entire city stretches out before you, its streets, its buildings, the agora, the temples, all of it. Athens is a living, breathing organism, and you are a part of it. You think about the gods' influence on the city, and about the ways in which the city's destiny is shaped. In the end, you know that it is the people of Athens, with their ideas and their passion, who will determine the city's fate. The gods may offer guidance, but it is the citizens like you who must decide how to use that guidance, how to move forward. As the sun begins to set, casting a soft glow over the Acropolis and the city, you feel a deep sense of connection to Athens. It's a city of contradictions, yes, intellect and war, philosophy and politics, but it is also a city that has survived through the engagement of its citizens. And as you watch the city beneath you, you realize that you are part of something much larger than yourself, something that will continue long after you are gone. Tomorrow will bring more discussions, more decisions, more debates. But tonight, as the city quiets down and the stars begin to appear above, you can rest in the knowledge that Athens, with all its complexity, is alive. And so are you, a citizen of this great city, continuing to shape its future with every thought, every conversation, every step you take. As the night deepens and the stars take their place in the heavens, you begin your walk home from the Acropolis. The city feels quieter now, the bustling streets gradually emptying as the Athenian day winds to a close. The cool evening air is a welcome relief after the heat of the day, and you breathe deeply, letting the tranquility of the night seep into your bones. The rhythm of the city has slowed, but you know it won't be long before the cycle begins again. Your mind, however, remains active, still buzzing with the weight of the day's conversations. Athens is a city of constant motion, both physically in its bustling streets and markets, and intellectually in its relentless debates, ideas and reflections on democracy, justice, and power. As you make your way through the quieter streets, you reflect on the conversations you've had in the agora, the philosophers' words about justice and virtue, and the growing tension about the city's future. It all feels so fragile, yet so alive, as if every moment holds the potential to tip the balance in one direction or the other. You pass by familiar houses, their windows flickering with the soft glow of candlelight. The sounds of laughter and conversation spill from within, a reminder that, despite the intensity of Athens' public life, it is the bonds of family and community that provide its foundation. The intellectual struggles, the political debates, and the decisions made in the agora all have real consequences for the citizens of Athens. But in these quiet, intimate moments, gathering around the dinner table, sharing a story, finding solace in each other's company, it is clear that the true strength of Athens lies in the people who live here, who contribute their voices, ideas, and actions to the city's ongoing journey. As you continue your walk, your thoughts return to the earlier debate about the gods and their influence on Athens. The idea that the city's fate is shaped by divine favor is not new to you. Athens has always had a complex relationship with the gods, balancing reverence for them with the practical needs of the city. The gods are both protectors and distant observers, and their influence is often a matter of interpretation. Some believe that the gods guide the city's destiny, that their favor ensures Athens' success. Others, like the philosophers, argue that it is human action reason, virtue, and the will of the people that shapes the course of the city. Historians still debate how much the gods truly influenced Athenian life. Some argue that religion played a central role in Athenian governance, influencing everything from public festivals to political decisions. Others contend that, while the gods were an important part of Athenian identity, it was the actions of the citizens themselves, through democracy, debate, and action, that ultimately determined the fate of the city. As you walk through the streets of Athens, you can't help but wonder which perspective is closer to the truth. Perhaps the gods, in their divine mystery, continue to guide the city's course, but it is the will and actions of the people that ultimately shape its destiny. You approach your home, the familiar sight of the small courtyard providing a sense of comfort. The evening's coolness gives way to the warmth of the hearth inside, where your family is waiting for you. The simple comforts of home dinner, conversation, the laughter of your children offer a sense of peace amid the turmoil of the world outside. It's easy to forget sometimes how much of life is shaped by these small moments, these fleeting instances of joy and connection. The world of politics, philosophy, and warfare may occupy much of your mind, but it is these quiet, domestic moments that truly define your existence. You enter the house, the smell of the evening meal greeting you. Your family is gathered around the table, the warmth of the fire casting a soft glow on their faces. The conversation flows easily, moving from the day's events to plans for the future. You listen, smiling, as your children recount their day with excitement, and your wife shares her thoughts on the upcoming festival. It's a moment of respite, a time to disconnect from the political intensity of the agora and simply enjoy the company of those you love. As the meal comes to an end, you find yourself feeling content, the weight of the day's discussions slowly giving way to the comfort of home. You share stories, laugh, and enjoy the quiet companionship of your family. It's in moments like these that the true meaning of Athenian life becomes clear, not just in the grand debates and intellectual pursuits, but in the connections we share with those around us, in the way we come together to build something greater than ourselves. With the evening drawing to a close, you rise from the table, your body tired, but your heart at ease. The city may be full of noise, full of ideas and debates that never seem to stop, but in this moment, you feel at peace. The soft murmur of the city's rhythms hums in the distance, and you know that tomorrow it will all begin again. The discussions, the decisions, the choices. Athens is a city that never stops moving forward. You make your way to your bed, the comforting weight of the blankets surrounding you as you settle in. The city outside continues to stir, but for now, you can rest, knowing that you are part of something larger, something that has endured for centuries and will continue to endure for centuries to come. Tomorrow, the debates will start anew, and you will once again have the opportunity to contribute your voice to the ongoing story of Athens. As you close your eyes, you let the quiet rhythm of the night lull you to sleep, knowing that the journey of Athens of democracy, philosophy, and the human spirit will continue long after you, and that you are a part of it. The day breaks once again, soft light spilling across your room as the sun rises over Athens, its warm glow streaming through the cracks in the shutters. The quiet serenity of the morning has a gentle pull on you, inviting you to linger a bit longer, wrapped in the comfort of your home. The familiar sounds of the city outside, the distant clamor of market stalls opening, the footsteps of early risers moving toward their destinations, remind you that another day is beginning, and that Athens, like the ocean, never stops. It is a city that flows relentlessly, always changing, always moving, but always bound by its roots, democracy, philosophy, and the pursuit of greatness. You rise from your bed, your feet meeting the cold stone floor once again, grounding you in the reality of the city you call home. The morning air, though cool, carries with it the faint scent of the earth, the sea, and the fresh bread being baked in the nearby bakery. Your daily rituals begin. The cold splash of water from the basin, waking you fully and refreshing your senses. The simplicity of these actions is grounding, and as you prepare yourself for the day ahead, you can't help but marvel at the consistency of Athens. No matter how much the world changes, the routines of the city and its citizens remain largely the same. The weight of yesterday's debates still lingers in your thoughts. The discussions on justice, virtue, and Athens' future are never far from your mind. And today, like every day, the city will once again be filled with ideas, questions, and decisions that will shape its path. You think about the gods, their influence on Athens, the way they have shaped the beliefs and values of the city, and you wonder how much of your life is truly within your control. You know that your actions matter, that your decisions as a citizen can influence the course of the city. But you also realize that you are part of something much larger than yourself, something that stretches back through centuries and will continue long after you. You walk through the streets of Athens, the familiar hum of the city surrounding you. The sun climbs higher in the sky, and with it, the pace of the city quickens. The sounds of the marketplace shouts of vendors, the clinking of coins, the laughter of children mix with the soft chatter of citizens discussing the matters of the day. As you approach the agora, the heart of the city, you feel a familiar sense of anticipation. Another day of debates, discussions, and decisions awaits. The agora is already alive with activity. Philosophers are gathered in groups, debating the finer points of ethics and justice, while citizens stand in smaller circles, discussing the latest political developments. The scent of freshly baked bread fills the air, mingling with the aroma of meats and vegetables from the various stalls. Traders shout their prices, while the sound of metal clinking and wood creaking from the nearby workshops reminds you that Athens is not just a city of ideas, but a city of action. You make your way through the agora, greeting familiar faces as you pass. The conversations seem to swirl around you, some discussing the upcoming festival, others deep in thought about the future of the city. As you walk, you catch snippets of debates. Should Athens strengthen its military in response to Sparta's growing power? Is democracy truly the best system of governance, or is it too chaotic and unpredictable? These questions, these debates, are as much a part of Athens as the stone walls of its temples and the marble columns of its great buildings. You join a group of friends gathered near the temple of Hephaestus. The discussion is lively, and today, the focus shifts to the role of the citizen in a democracy. Some argue that every citizen has a duty to contribute to the decisions of the city, to participate in the debates and votes that shape the future. Others suggest that the responsibilities of citizenship extend beyond political participation, that it's not just about voting, but about engaging in the ongoing intellectual discourse that defines Athens. It's a discussion that feels endless, but one that also feels essential to the very fabric of the city. Historians still argue about the practical reality of Athenian democracy. Was it truly participatory, or were the voices of the wealthy and powerful disproportionately represented? Some suggest that democracy was one of Athens' greatest achievements, while others point to its limitations, particularly the exclusion of women, slaves, and foreigners from the political process. Yet, despite its imperfections, Athens' democracy was revolutionary. The idea that every citizen had a voice, that the collective will could shape the future of the city, was a radical concept that continues to influence political thought to this day. As the conversation deepens, you can feel the weight of the city's legacy settling on your shoulders. Athens is not just a place, it is an idea, a living, breathing experiment in self-governance and the pursuit of knowledge. You are part of that experiment, part of the ongoing process of democracy, philosophy, and action that has defined Athens for centuries. And as the debates continue, you realize that you are not just a passive observer, but an active participant in shaping the city's future. The sun climbs higher, and the agora begins to fill with even more citizens, visitors, traders, and travelers, all coming together in the heart of Athens. The noise grows louder, the discussions more heated as the day progresses. And you, like everyone around you, contribute to the flow of ideas and action that makes Athens what it is. It is a city of great intellectual power, but also a city of immense responsibility. You are part of that responsibility, part of the continuing story of Athens. With the day continuing to unfold, you feel a deep sense of connection to the city, its past, its present, and its future. Athens may be filled with contradictions, with debates that seem never-ending, but it is also a city where every citizen has the power to shape its destiny. And as you walk through the agora, listening to the discussions and reflecting on the city's complex legacy, you know that tomorrow will bring more questions, more decisions, and more opportunities to contribute to the great experiment that is Athens. The afternoon sun casts a golden glow over Athens as you continue through the agora, the pulse of the city vibrant as ever. The debates surrounding democracy and citizenship still echo in your mind, but the rhythm of the day presses on. The bustle of the marketplace is now at its peak, the clang of metal from the blacksmith's stall, the clatter of carts as traders wheel their goods through the streets, the lively calls of vendors competing for attention. Athens is alive, in constant motion, a city whose energy is fueled by the people who walk its streets. You step aside from the main thoroughfare, taking a moment to pause by a quieter section of the agora, where a small group of men are gathered near the shrine of Apollo. This area of the marketplace is often where those less inclined to public spectacle meet poets, philosophers, and those who prefer intellectual conversations in the shadow of the gods. You recognize a few faces among them, some familiar from past debates, others new but equally intrigued by the philosophical undertones of Athens. Today, the discussion turns to the nature of the soul, what it means to be virtuous, how the soul interacts with the body, and how one can cultivate harmony between the two. One of the older men in the group, a philosopher by the name of Parmenides, speaks passionately about the balance of reason and desire. The soul, my friends, is like a chariot driven by two horses, reason, a steady and wise one, and desire, the fiery one. But it is the charioteer, our will, that must guide the horses. Without control, both horses pull in different directions, leading to chaos. The words resonate with you, especially after the heated discussions of democracy earlier in the day. You think about the choices of the people of Athens, the way their desires, their political passions, and their reason all collide in the agora. The chariot of Athens, like the soul, is pulled in many directions, each citizen's voice adding to the tug-of-war for control. And yet, it is the will of the people, ultimately, the collective action that must guide the city forward. Historians still argue about the influence of philosophy in shaping Athenian politics. Some claim that the philosophical ideals of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle were essential to the democratic process, shaping the minds of Athens' leaders and citizens alike. Others suggest that the practical concerns of war and governance overshadowed philosophy, with the political system driven by necessity rather than intellectual ideals. But as you sit and listen to the debate, you realize that both sides have their truth. Athens is a city that thrives on the tension between these forces: intellectual pursuit and political action, philosophy and practicality. As the discussion continues, you find yourself contributing to the conversation, offering your thoughts on how democracy itself may be a reflection of the soul. In democracy, you say, we each have a voice, just as we each have a part of the soul. But can the will of the people be as harmonious as the soul's ideal state? Or is it more like a chaotic chariot, pulled in many directions by differing desires? The group listens intently, nodding as you speak, and the conversation takes a new turn as they contemplate your point. The notion of democracy as a reflection of the soul, with all its potential for harmony and chaos, sparks a lively debate. Some agree with your observation, while others argue that the soul's balance cannot be replicated in the public sphere, where competing interests inevitably lead to conflict. But the debate itself, this engagement with ideas, is what makes Athens great. The fact that even a simple citizen like yourself can contribute to these discussions, shaping the future of the city with your thoughts and your voice, feels empowering. Eventually, the conversation begins to wind down, and the group disperses, each man heading in a different direction. But the ideas that have been shared linger in the air, leaving a trace of intellectual energy that you can't help but carry with you. As you make your way toward the exit of the agora, you think about the ongoing dance between philosophy and politics, between the ideals of democracy and the practicalities of life in a city constantly on the brink of change. The city around you continues to move, its streets full of people and voices, each one contributing to the pulse of Athens. You know that tomorrow, the debates will start again, and new questions will arise. But for today, you take comfort in the fact that the city of ideas, of democracy, of intellectual engagement is alive, and you are a part of it. You have contributed to the conversation, added your voice to the chorus of citizens who shape the direction of Athens. As you leave the agora behind and make your way home, you feel the weight of Athens' legacy settle on your shoulders once again. This city, with its contradictions, its wisdom, and its constant search for balance, will continue to evolve, and so too will you. You are a citizen of Athens, a participant in its great experiment in democracy and philosophy, a part of a legacy that will echo through the ages. The evening draws near as you approach your home, the familiar sounds of family life greeting you once again. Inside, the warmth of your family and the simple comforts of home are a welcome relief after the intensity of the day. The laughter of your children, the soothing voice of your wife, and the quiet presence of those you love are a reminder of what truly matters in this ever-changing city. As the city quiets down, the sounds of the evening distant chatter, a soft rustling of leaves in the breeze, bring a sense of peace. You sit down at the dinner table with your family, content to be in this moment, to savor the small joys of life that Athens cannot take from you. The debates, the politics, and the future of the city will always be present. But for now, you are grounded in the warmth of your home, knowing that tomorrow will bring new challenges, new ideas, and new conversations to shape the future of Athens. The evening unfolds slowly, and as the last rays of sunlight dip below the horizon, you find yourself settling into a comfortable routine. The city has quieted, but even now, you can hear the occasional distant murmur of voices from nearby homes. Athens never truly falls silent. Even in the deepest hours of the night, the whispers of the city are always present. It's part of the charm of living in such a vibrant place. There's always something happening, always something to be part of. But tonight, as the day gives way to evening, you allow yourself to bask in the tranquility that has taken over. Dinner with your family is simple yet satisfying. The conversation is light, casual talk of the day's events, of what the future may hold, but nothing too heavy. It's a time for relaxation, to enjoy the peace that comes with being home. As your children laugh and play, your mind drifts back to the discussions in the agora earlier. The questions about Athens' future, about the role of citizens in shaping that future, continue to reverberate in your thoughts. What role do you, as an individual, play in this complex city? Can one person truly make a difference, or are the tides of history driven by larger forces beyond your control? It's a difficult question, one that doesn't have a simple answer. As you listen to the sound of your children's voices, a thought occurs to you. The future of Athens isn't only shaped by politicians and philosophers. It is shaped by families, by the individuals who live here and pass on the city's values to the next generation. Perhaps the real power of Athens lies in its ability to shape the hearts and minds of its citizens, its children, its families. Maybe the city's true legacy isn't just in its grand ideas and accomplishments, but in the quiet moments like these, where life goes on regardless of the larger debates happening in the agora. You finish your meal and rise to clear the table, your family helping with the simple task. The work of the city, the debates, The discussions, the grand ideas may seem far away at times like these, but you realize that, in a way, it's always present. The ideals of Athens, the democracy, the philosophy, the pursuit of knowledge, they are part of your everyday life. They influence the way you raise your children, the way you interact with others, and the way you view the world. In this sense, even these simple moments are part of the larger story of Athens. You may not be a philosopher or a politician, but as a citizen of Athens, you are contributing to its ongoing legacy, even in the quietest of moments. The night continues, and as you finish the chores, you take a moment to step outside. The air is cooler now, the faint smell of the sea wafting through the streets. It's a time for reflection. The city around you is still alive, but there's a peacefulness to the evening, a time when the noise of the day gives way to contemplation. The stars are out now, dotting the dark sky like tiny lanterns, and you find yourself drawn to them, wondering about the larger universe, about the gods, about destiny, about the things that are beyond your control. Historians often focus on the great events of Athens, the Peloponnesian War, the rise of democracy, the achievements of its philosophers and artists. But perhaps it is moments like these that truly define the city. The quiet reflection, the small decisions, the daily interactions that shape the fabric of Athens. Perhaps the greatness of Athens lies not just in its monumental achievements, but in its ability to bring together the minds of its citizens, to foster dialogue, and to create a space where the individual voice can contribute to the greater good. As you walk through your home, feeling the cool evening air on your skin, you come to a simple conclusion. Athens is not just the buildings, the agora, or the debates. Athens is the people, the citizens who contribute their voices and their actions, who shape the course of the city through their thoughts and their deeds. It's the collective energy, the shared ideals that create the legacy of Athens, one conversation, one vote, one action at a time. Tomorrow will come with its own challenges, with new debates and new questions. But for now, you are content in the knowledge that you, like every other citizen of Athens, are part of this great experiment in democracy and intellectual pursuit. It's a heavy responsibility, but also a great privilege. The future of Athens, like the future of every great city, depends not just on the grand ideas, but on the people who live here, people like you, who contribute, who engage, and who help shape the world around them. As the city settles into the quiet of the evening, you make your way back inside. The warmth of your family, the comfort of your home, and the knowledge that tomorrow will bring new opportunities to contribute to the story of Athens fills you with a quiet sense of pride. Tomorrow, the debates will continue. The city will continue to evolve. And you, a humble citizen, will continue to play your part in the great journey of Athens. The night grows deeper, and as the city of Athens sinks into a quiet lull, you find yourself lying awake, your thoughts still churning. The steady hum of the city fades into the background, replaced by the gentle sounds of the wind rustling through the olive trees just outside your window. Despite the quiet, your mind refuses to rest. The discussions of the day, the philosophical debates, the political concerns about Athens' future, and the growing tension with Sparta all swirl in your thoughts. You think about what it means to be a citizen of Athens. The city is constantly changing, constantly evolving, yet it remains tied to its core values, the pursuit of knowledge, the power of democracy, and the balance between intellect and action. You, like every other citizen, are part of that evolution, contributing your voice to the ongoing discussions that shape the city's future. But as the hours stretch on, you wonder about the role of the individual in such a large, complex society. Can one voice truly make a difference? Or are we all simply small pieces in a much larger puzzle? Historians often debate whether the Athenian democracy was as participatory as it appeared. While Athens was a beacon of freedom and democracy, with every male citizen having the right to vote and participate in the assembly, there was still a vast divide between those with political power and those without. Wealth, status, and birthright often determined who truly had a voice in the city's most important matters. The notion of democracy in Athens was revolutionary, but it wasn't flawless. Yet, in your experience, it is this constant questioning and the engagement of the people that make Athens the vibrant city it is. In the stillness of the night, you think about your place in this grand experiment. You are not a philosopher of great renown, nor a politician whose decisions shape the fate of the city. You are simply a citizen, like many others, contributing in small ways to the larger whole. And yet, you realize that it is precisely these small contributions that give Athens its strength. It is the daily acts of engagement, the conversations in the agora, the quiet reflection at home, and the decisions made with a sense of purpose that weave together the fabric of the city. Tomorrow, there will be more debates, more discussions about war, politics, and justice. The tension with Sparta will continue to simmer, and Athens will remain on the edge, waiting for a resolution. But for now, as you lie in the stillness of the night, you are reminded that Athens is not just its politics or its military might. It is the sum of its citizens, their ideas, their actions, their ability to engage in the ongoing story of the city. The sound of the distant city, the soft murmur of life, continuing on even in the dark hours, eventually lulls you into a peaceful slumber. The weight of the day slowly fades, and you drift off to sleep with the knowledge that you, along with every citizen of Athens, are part of something larger than yourself, something that will continue long after you are gone. As sleep takes over, the city outside continues to pulse, its streets filled with the voices of its people, its future ever uncertain, ever evolving. But for now, in the quiet of the night, you rest, knowing that Athens will rise again tomorrow, its citizens once more engaging in the debates, the discussions, and the decisions that will shape its legacy. The morning will come soon enough, and with it, a new day for Athens, a new opportunity to contribute, to shape the future, and to continue the story that began long before you and will continue long after. The morning light spills into your room, gentle yet insistent, waking you with its quiet urgency. Another day in Athens is beginning, and as the familiar sounds of the city filter through the cracks in your shutters, you stretch, feeling the weariness of the night ease away. The coolness of the early morning air brushes against your skin as you rise, and for a moment you stand still, listening to the rhythm of the world outside distant voices, the clinking of metal, the low hum of the market preparing to open its gates. Athens is alive, even at this early hour. The city, in all its ancient glory, moves through the cycles of day and night, endlessly flowing between activity and rest. And you, like every other citizen, are part of that rhythm. Today, like every other day, will be filled with the discussions, debates, and decisions that shape the future of the city. But today, there is something different in the air, a sense of anticipation, as though something is coming, something that will tip the delicate balance that keeps the city moving forward. As you prepare for the day, you wonder if today will bring the answers to the questions that have weighed on your mind. Will Athens continue to thrive, or will it face a challenge that it cannot overcome? Will the city's democratic ideals hold strong, or will the pressures of war and politics cause them to unravel? You try to push these thoughts aside, focusing on the small rituals of the morning splashing cold water on your face, the simple act of getting dressed, the quiet moments before stepping out into the world. These rituals are your anchor, grounding you in the present before the weight of the day takes hold. When you step outside, the streets of Athens are already bustling with activity. The sound of the city is everywhere, the cries of the vendors, the shuffling of feet, the noise of the chariot wheels on cobblestone. You join the stream of citizens making their way toward the agora, each person lost in their own thoughts, yet all moving together toward the same place. The agora is the heart of the city, and it is here that decisions are made, ideas are exchanged, and the pulse of Athens can be felt most strongly. As you walk through the marketplace, you are greeted by familiar faces, the butcher sharpening his knives, the potter arranging his wares, the merchant selling fresh olives. Each one of them is part of the grand experiment that is Athens, their actions contributing to the ongoing life of the city. There's an energy here, a sense of purpose that drives the city forward. The agora is not just a marketplace. It is a space where democracy takes shape, where the city's future is determined by the voices of its citizens. You make your way toward a familiar group of philosophers, gathered under the portico near the Temple of Hephaestus. Today, their conversation is quieter than usual, more introspective. The topic is the same as it has been for weeks: the looming war with Sparta, the fragile peace, and what the future holds for Athens. But today, there is a different tone in the air. Some are anxious, others hopeful, but all seem to sense that something is about to change. One of the philosophers, a man named Cleon, speaks with a calm authority. Athens is at a crossroads, he says, his voice carrying across the small group. Our democracy, our way of life, depends on the decisions we make in the coming days. Do we continue down the path of diplomacy, seeking peace and alliances, or do we prepare for war, knowing that the cost will be great? Another philosopher, Antisthenes, counters, his voice filled with more urgency. The strength of Athens lies not in its negotiations, but in its military power. We cannot afford to be passive. Sparta will not wait for us to decide. They will strike when they feel it is in their best interest. And if we are unprepared, we risk losing everything we have fought for. The debate continues, voices rising and falling as ideas are tested, questioned, and challenged. Some argue for a defensive strategy, preparing the city's defenses and fortifying the walls, while others suggest that Athens should seek alliances with neighboring city-states to ensure its survival. But regardless of the perspective, the consensus is clear. Athens cannot afford to remain passive. Action is needed, but what kind of action? And who will lead the charge? Historians still debate the wisdom of Athens' political decisions during this period. Some point to the city's emphasis on military preparedness, and its focus on the power of its navy as key to its success. Others argue that Athens' greatest strength lay in its ability to adapt to changing circumstances, to seek diplomacy when needed and to fight when necessary. But whatever the outcome, one thing is certain. Athens was a city of action, not just thought. As the conversation winds down, the group begins to disperse, each philosopher lost in their own thoughts. You find yourself standing there, the weight of the discussion pressing down on you. The decisions made today will shape the future of Athens. But you also know that it is not just the philosophers or the politicians who will determine that future. It is the citizens of Athens, all of them, who will contribute to the city's destiny with every vote, every word, and every action. As you leave the agora and make your way home, the weight of the day's discussion lingers in your mind. The tension with Sparta, the future of Athens, the role of the gods in guiding the city, these are the questions that will dominate the city's future. But as you walk through the familiar streets, you realize that no matter what happens, you are a part of this grand experiment. You are a citizen of Athens, and your voice matters. The city is a living, breathing organism, and you, like every other citizen, contribute to its growth and development. Athens will continue to evolve, and tomorrow will bring new challenges, new debates, and new opportunities to engage in the city's ongoing story. But for now, you are content in the knowledge that you are part of something greater, something that has stood the test of time and will continue to stand for generations to come. The day slowly fades into the afternoon, and the warmth of the sun casts a golden hue over the city. You can feel the heat of the day start to settle into your bones, but there's a certain satisfaction in the way the sunlight bathes Athens in its light. The city is alive, brimming with energy and movement. The agora hums with the exchange of ideas, the hustle of trade, and the persistent rhythm of everyday life. Even as you walk through its streets, the debates you overheard linger in your thoughts, mixing with the low hum of voices around you. Your footsteps lead you toward the southern side of the city, near the gymnasium, where the physical energy of Athens meets the intellectual. The gymnasium is always active, always bustling with young men training their bodies, but it is also a space for quiet conversation, for learning the lessons of discipline and resolve. Today, however, the hum of voices seems to have taken on a new energy. It feels as though something is stirring in the air, as if the weight of the upcoming decisions is pressing on everyone in the city. You arrive at the gymnasium, greeted by the familiar sight of men training in the courtyard, wrestling and sparring under the watchful eyes of their mentors. The clatter of footsteps and the sound of exertion fill the air, but today the atmosphere feels more charged. You see a few familiar faces among the athletes, men you've known for years, who have worked tirelessly to hone their bodies and minds. They greet you with nods and smiles, but you can sense a certain tension in the air, a feeling that something is about to break. As you make your way through the gymnasium, your thoughts return to the earlier debates about war and peace. Athens has always been a city that values physical strength, but it also values intellect, culture, and the life of the mind. The question now is whether the balance can be maintained. Can Athens continue to be a city of democracy and intellectual achievement while preparing for the looming threat of war? It is a delicate balance, one that may tip in any direction, depending on the decisions made by the city's citizens. Historians still debate whether the strength of Athens was rooted more in its intellectual achievements or its military power. Some point to the works of its philosophers, playwrights, and historians as the true legacy of the city, while others focus on its dominance on the battlefield and its naval power as the key to its greatness. But as you stand in the gymnasium, watching the athletes train with such intensity and purpose, you are reminded of the dual nature of Athens, its reliance on both intellect and physical prowess to define its place in the world. As you watch, your gaze drifts upward toward the Acropolis in the distance. The towering Parthenon seems to rise from the earth itself, a constant reminder of the city's intellectual achievements and its commitment to honoring the gods. The Parthenon, with its perfect proportions and intricate carvings, symbolizes the delicate harmony between the human and the divine, between the mortal and the eternal. It stands as both a beacon of cultural pride and a monument to the gods who are believed to watch over the city. The sun begins to dip lower in the sky, and you decide to take a moment to rest. You find a quiet spot near the edge of the gymnasium, sitting on a stone bench that overlooks the courtyard. From here, you can see the athletes working tirelessly, their muscles straining with each movement, their faces focused and determined. There is something almost meditative in the way they move, each of them absorbed in their own practice, their own pursuit of excellence. As you sit, your mind begins to wander once again to the questions that have been consuming Athens in recent days. The debate over the future of the city, the growing tension with Sparta, and the role of the gods in guiding the city's destiny. You can feel the weight of it all, this sense that the city is standing on the precipice of something momentous. But what that something is, you cannot yet say. The future is uncertain, and the path forward is unclear. Still, there is a sense of hope, a belief that the citizens of Athens will rise to meet the challenges ahead, guided by their democratic ideals and their unwavering commitment to excellence. You watch as one of the athletes, a young man named Aristides, finishes his training and walks past you, his face flushed with exertion. He smiles as he approaches, greeting you warmly. "You look deep in thought, my friend," he says, settling beside you on the bench. "It's the city," you reply with a sigh. "So much is happening. So many questions, so many debates. I wonder how it will all unfold." Aristides nods thoughtfully. Athens has always faced challenges, but it is in our nature to rise to meet them. We may not know the outcome, but we know that we are strong. That, I think, is what makes us great. His words linger in the air, and for a moment, you find yourself reflecting on them. Athens is a city built on strength of body, mind, and spirit. It has endured for centuries, and it will continue to endure as long as its citizens remain committed to the ideals of democracy, freedom, and excellence. The road ahead may be uncertain, but there is strength in the unity of Athens' people. The collective will of the citizens is what drives the city forward, and it is this shared strength that will carry Athens through whatever comes next. As the evening sun fades into twilight, you feel a renewed sense of clarity. The debates, the discussions, the tension, it all remains, but you realize that Athens will continue to evolve, to grow, and to shape the future with every choice made. Whether in the agora, the gymnasium, or the homes of its citizens, the story of Athens is always being written, one moment at a time. You stand up, feeling the coolness of the evening air on your skin, and begin to walk back toward your home. The city, in all its complexity, remains. The sun sets, the stars appear, and the rhythms of Athens continue. But tonight, you are at peace, knowing that you are part of something that will continue long after you. The day slowly fades into the afternoon, and the warmth of the sun casts a golden hue over the city. You can feel the heat of the day start to settle into your bones, but there's a certain satisfaction in the way the sunlight bathes Athens in its light. The city is alive, brimming with energy and movement. The agora hums with the exchange of ideas, the hustle of trade, and the persistent rhythm of everyday life. Even as you walk through its streets, the debates you overheard linger in your thoughts, mixing with the low hum of voices around you. Your footsteps lead you toward the southern side of the city, near the gymnasium, where the physical energy of Athens meets the intellectual. The gymnasium is always active, always bustling with young men training their bodies, but it is also a space for quiet conversation, for learning the lessons of discipline and resolve. Today, however, the hum of voices seems to have taken on a new energy. It feels as though something is stirring in the air, as if the weight of the upcoming decisions is pressing on everyone in the city. You arrive at the gymnasium, greeted by the familiar sight of men training in the courtyard, wrestling and sparring under the watchful eyes of their mentors. The clatter of footsteps and the sound of exertion fill the air, but today the atmosphere feels more charged. You see a few familiar faces among the athletes, men you've known for years, who have worked tirelessly to hone their bodies and minds. They greet you with nods and smiles, but you can sense a certain tension in the air, a feeling that something is about to break. As you make your way through the gymnasium, your thoughts return to the earlier debates about war and peace. Athens has always been a city that values physical strength, but it also values intellect, culture, and the life of the mind. The question now is whether the balance can be maintained. Can Athens continue to be a city of democracy and intellectual achievement while preparing for the looming threat of war. It is a delicate balance, one that may tip in any direction, depending on the decisions made by the city's citizens. Historians still debate whether the strength of Athens was rooted more in its intellectual achievements or its military power. Some point to the works of its philosophers, playwrights, and historians as the true legacy of the city, while others focus on its dominance on the battlefield and its naval power as the key to its greatness. But as you stand in the gymnasium, watching the athletes train with such intensity and purpose, you are reminded of the dual nature of Athens, its reliance on both intellect and physical prowess to define its place in the world. As you watch, your gaze drifts upward toward the Acropolis in the distance. The towering Parthenon seems to rise from the earth itself, a constant reminder of the city's intellectual achievements and its commitment to honoring the gods. The Parthenon, with its perfect proportions and intricate carvings, symbolizes the delicate harmony between the human and the divine, between the mortal and the eternal. It stands as both a beacon of cultural pride and a monument to the gods who are believed to watch over the city. The sun begins to dip lower in the sky, and you decide to take a moment to rest. You find a quiet spot near the edge of the gymnasium, sitting on a stone bench that overlooks the courtyard. From here, you can see the athletes working tirelessly, their muscles straining with each movement, their faces focused and determined. There is something almost meditative in the way they move, each of them absorbed in their own practice, their own pursuit of excellence. As you sit, your mind begins to wander once again to the questions that have been consuming Athens in recent days. The debate over the future of the city, the growing tension with Sparta, and the role of the gods in guiding the city's destiny. You can feel the weight of it all, this sense that the city is standing on the precipice of something momentous. But what that something is, you cannot yet say. The future is uncertain, and the path forward is unclear. Still, there is a sense of hope, a belief that the citizens of Athens will rise to meet the challenges ahead, guided by their democratic ideals and their unwavering commitment to excellence. You watch as one of the athletes, a young man named Aristides, finishes his training and walks past you, his face flushed with exertion. He smiles as he approaches, greeting you warmly. "You look deep in thought, my friend," he says, settling beside you on the bench. "It's the city," you reply with a sigh. "So much is happening, so many questions, so many debates. I wonder how it will all unfold." Aristides nods thoughtfully. Athens has always faced challenges, but it is in our nature to rise to meet them. We may not know the outcome, but we know that we are strong. That, I think, is what makes us great. His words linger in the air, and for a moment, you find yourself reflecting on them. Athens is a city built on strength of body, mind, and spirit. It has endured for centuries, and it will continue to endure as long as its citizens remain committed to the ideals of democracy, freedom, and excellence. The road ahead may be uncertain, but there is strength in the unity of Athens people. The collective will of the citizens is what drives the city forward, and it is this shared strength that will carry Athens through whatever comes next. As the evening sun fades into twilight, you feel a renewed sense of clarity. The debates, the discussions, the tension, it all remains. But you realize that Athens will continue to evolve, to grow, and to shape the future with every choice made, whether in the agora, the gymnasium, or the homes of its citizens. The story of Athens is always being written, one moment at a time. You stand up, feeling the coolness of the evening air on your skin, and begin to walk back toward your home. The city, in all its complexity, remains. The sun sets, the stars appear, and the rhythms of Athens continue. But tonight, you are at peace. knowing that you are part of something that will continue long after you. The quiet of the night wraps around you like a comforting blanket as you return to the peace of your home. The steady rhythm of the city continues beyond your walls, but here, within the confines of your family, the world outside seems distant, almost insignificant for the moment. Inside, there's warmth, the faint smell of the fire still lingering in the air, and the soothing sounds of your children's voices drifting from the other room. These moments of stillness, these times of connection, provide a calm counterpoint to the storm of ideas, politics, and philosophy that swirl in the agora and beyond. As the evening deepens, you find yourself caught between two worlds, the one inside, where the simple joys of family life bring comfort, and the one outside, where the fate of Athens hangs in the balance. You sit by the fire, your mind lingering on the discussions of the day, the growing political tensions, the idea of war, and the ever-present challenge of balancing the ideals of democracy with the realities of conflict. You think back to the morning, to the philosophers debating the nature of justice, and wonder how these lofty ideals can be translated into practical action. Historians still argue whether Athens' democratic experiment was a triumph of reason and fairness, or whether it was a fragile system that fell prey to the pressures of war, political infighting, and the desires of a few powerful individuals. Some believe that the city's dedication to the ideals of democracy and intellectual freedom was its greatest strength. Others contend that it was the military might of Athens, its ability to defend itself against external threats, that ensured its survival. In your heart, you understand the truth of both arguments. Athens is great because it is both a city of ideas and a city of action, of philosophy and military strength. As you sit with your family, you realize that your own role in this great experiment is one of many. Like every citizen of Athens, your actions, however small, contribute to the ongoing narrative of the city. You may not be a philosopher or a soldier, but you are a citizen, and that means your voice, your thoughts, and your decisions matter. In a democracy, it is not just the great minds and the powerful leaders who shape the city's future. It is the collective will of the people, the sum of all the voices, that determines the course of events. The conversation with your family turns to lighter matters, your children's plans for the upcoming festival, the joy of the Panathenaic Games, and the fun of watching the athletic contests and theatrical performances. It's a moment of respite, a chance to laugh and enjoy the simplicity of life. But even in these moments of lightness, there's a sense of something deeper of a city, and a people constantly striving to understand their place in the world, to balance the demands of intellect, war, and governance. The soft crackle of the fire in the hearth fills the room as the conversation fades, and your mind begins to drift. Outside, the stars twinkle in the dark sky, a reminder of the gods who are said to watch over Athens. Yet, as you look up at the night sky, you can't help but feel that Athens' fate is in the hands of its citizens, not the gods. Not fate, but the people who walk its streets, who engage in its debates, who make the choices that will shape the future. Tomorrow, the cycle will begin again. More debates, more decisions, more questions about what it means to be a citizen of Athens. And yet, tonight, you feel at peace. You understand that your role, however small, is vital to the ongoing story of the city. Athens is alive because of its people, because of its citizens who take part in its journey, who question, who fight, who strive for something greater. As the night grows deeper, you make your way to bed, your thoughts settling as you prepare for sleep. The quiet of the city, the distant sounds of its streets, the faint whispers of the wind, all of it fades as you close your eyes. Athens will continue. The city's story will unfold, and you, as a citizen, will continue to shape its future. In the stillness of the night, You find peace in the knowledge that Athens is greater than the sum of its parts. It is a city of voices, of ideas of citizens who engage in the ongoing conversation that will guide its path. And tomorrow, as always, the journey will begin again. The night stretches on, quiet and deep, as the city of Athens slowly settles into rest. The cool breeze wafts through your window, and the soft rustle of leaves from the olive trees outside seems to soothe your thoughts. Athens, with all its energy and intensity, is a city that knows how to rest its streets darkening, its people returning to their homes, and the ever-present hum of the marketplace fading into the background. For you, however, sleep does not come easily. The weight of the day's conversations, the debates, the tensions, all linger in your mind. You think about the future of Athens, about the discussions on war and peace, the voices calling for military preparedness, and those who argue for diplomacy. These questions are as old as the city itself, and yet they never seem to have clear answers. The city has weathered countless storms, but today's storm feels different. The growing threat from Sparta, the pressure to maintain Athens' dominance, the delicate balance between democracy and warfare, all of these things create a sense of uncertainty, one that feels particularly heavy tonight. As you lie in bed, you think about the conversations you've had over the past few days, the discussions in the agora, the debates in the gymnasium, the reflections on justice and virtue. Athens is a city of intellectual brilliance, but it is also a city of action, a place where the ideas of its citizens are tested in the real world. The city's greatness comes from its ability to combine these two forces, intellect and action, theory and practice. But tonight, as you lie awake in the quiet of your room, you wonder, is Athens at a crossroads? Can the city continue to balance its intellectual pursuits with the demands of war? Will the ideals of democracy hold strong in the face of external threats? Or will the city's military and political ambitions begin to overshadow the values that have made Athens great? Historians have long debated the question of whether Athens could truly sustain its democratic ideals in the face of constant warfare. Some argue that the city's success came from its ability to adapt external threats while maintaining its cultural and intellectual traditions. Others suggest that Athens' downfall was inevitable, that the constant tension between the pursuit of wisdom and the demands of power would ultimately tear the city apart. But as you lie in the stillness of the night, you are reminded of one simple truth. Athens is a living, breathing city, and its future is shaped by the choices of its citizens. Tomorrow, the debates will begin again. The assembly will gather to discuss the next steps in the city's military preparations, and the philosophers will continue their inquiries into the nature of justice and virtue. The questions may not be answered, but the conversation will continue, as it always does. You realize that it is this conversation, this ongoing exchange of ideas, that is the true strength of Athens. It is the people, ordinary citizens like yourself, who shape the future of the city through their engagement, their participation, and their willingness to confront the difficult questions head on. As the night deepens, you feel a sense of peace wash over you. The uncertainty remains, but it is accompanied by a quiet confidence. Athens will continue to struggle, to grow, to question. And you, along with every citizen, will continue to be part of that journey. The challenges of tomorrow are not yours to bear alone. They are the city's challenges, and it is in the collective effort of the people that Athens will find its way. Sleep finally claims you, the weight of the day's thoughts fading into the background as the quiet of the night settles around you. The city outside is still, but in your mind, Athens continues to move, its heart beating with the pulse of its citizens. The journey is far from over, but for tonight you rest, knowing that you are part of something greater, something that will continue to endure, to grow, and to shape the world long after you are gone. The sun will rise again tomorrow, and with it, the promises of a new day in Athens. Another chance to contribute, another chance to shape the future of the city. But for now, the night has its hold on you, and you rest in the knowledge that tomorrow, Athens will continue its journey, with you, its citizen, moving forward alongside it. The night passes quietly, and the first light of dawn creeps through your window, gently coaxing you out of sleep. The city of Athens stirs once again, though it is still early, and the streets are calm. The quiet moments of the morning offer a rare chance to reflect before the hustle of the day begins. You rise from your bed and stretch, taking in the serenity of the early hours. For now, Athens is still, its energy yet to fully awaken. As you begin your daily rituals, the cold splash of water on your face, the act of getting dressed, these familiar motions feel almost meditative. They are the foundation of your day, a reminder that while the debates in the agora and the political struggles of the city may feel urgent, it is these small personal moments that ground you. They are, in their own way, a form of resistance to the noise of the world, a reminder of what matters most to connections to home, to family, to the things that bring peace amidst the chaos. Stepping outside into the cool morning air, you are greeted by the soft sounds of Athens beginning to stir. The city slowly awakens, the air filled with the murmurs of traders opening their stalls, the rustling of leaves in the breeze, and the distant calls of workers beginning their daily tasks. As you walk toward the agora, the streets are quieter, but the underlying hum of the city is unmistakable. It's a rhythm that never stops, a constant ebb and flow between rest and activity, between contemplation and action. The agora is already coming to life when you arrive. The traders are setting up their stalls, the philosophers have gathered in their usual spots, and citizens begin to trickle in, ready for the debates of the day. It's a familiar sight, but today, there's something different in the air. The weight of the past few days, the questions about war, democracy, and Athens' future still linger in the minds of many, and the tension is palpable. But in the agora, the discussions are as lively as ever, with ideas being exchanged freely and openly, as they have been for centuries. As you wander through the marketplace, you overhear snippets of conversation, each one revolving around the same central theme, the fate of Athens. Some citizens argue for military preparedness, suggesting that Athens must be ready to defend itself against Sparta's growing power. Others, more cautious, believe that diplomacy and alliances are the city's best course of action, warning against the dangers of war. The city is divided, and as you listen to the debates around you, you realize just how much is at stake. Historians continue to debate the effectiveness of Athens' democratic system during times of crisis. Some argue that the city's ability to engage in open debate, to allow its citizens to voice their opinions, is what made it unique. Others suggest that the very openness of Athenian democracy, its constant questioning of the status quo, made it vulnerable to manipulation and conflict. Yet, as you stand in the agora, you see the beauty of assisting people from all walks of life, all ages, engaging in the conversation, contributing to the city's future. You make your way toward a group of familiar philosophers, gathering in the shade of the temple of Hephaestus. Today's topic is justice once again, but this time the discussion has taken a more urgent tone. The threat of war looms large, and the question of how Athens should navigate its democratic ideals in the face of external pressure is one that weighs heavily on the minds of all present. Can Athens continue to live up to its ideals of freedom and justice if war is on the horizon? What happens when democracy and the demands of survival clash? You listen attentively, feeling a sense of responsibility. These conversations matter. The answers may not come easily, but the fact that they are being asked, that they are being discussed openly, is what makes Athens different. It is a city that constantly questions itself, constantly evaluates its course, and constantly strives to balance its ideals with the harsh realities of the world. The debate continues, shifting between different perspectives. Some argue for a defensive stance, fortifying the city's walls and preparing for battle, while others call for diplomacy, suggesting that Athens can avoid conflict through negotiation and alliances. The discussion is passionate, with each speaker offering their own vision of how Athens should proceed, how the city should protect its values while confronting the external threats it faces. As the conversation evolves, you can't help but wonder about the future of Athens. The city is at a crossroads, its citizens divided, its future uncertain. But even in the midst of these debates, you sense that there is hope, that the strength of Athens lies not in the certainty of its path, but in the willingness of its people to engage with each other, to challenge ideas, and to find solutions through discourse. Athens has always been a city of great minds and great voices, and it is in this collective engagement that the city finds its strength. The sun rises higher, and the agora fills with more people. The sounds of the marketplace blend with the lively debates, creating a sense of unity amid the uncertainty. Athens is alive today, as it has been for centuries, a place where every citizen's voice matters, where every idea contributes to the larger story of the city. And as you look around at the faces of your fellow citizens, you realize that this is the true greatness of Athens, not in its buildings or its victories, but in the way its people come together to shape their collective future. As you leave the agora for the day, the weight of the discussion still lingers in your thoughts. But you are content, knowing that Athens will continue to move forward, guided by the voices of its citizens, shaped by the choices they make. Tomorrow, the debates will begin again, and Athens will continue its journey. As the night stretches on, the city of Athens quietly drifts into rest, its heart still beating, its soul ever searching. The questions and debates of the day, the struggles and triumphs, are now woven into the fabric of this city's long history. Athens is not just a place of grand ideas, but of moments like these, quiet, simple, and filled with the warmth of shared stories and the embrace of home. And just as the city rests, so too can you, knowing that the questions of tomorrow are part of a journey that has lasted for centuries. Let the warmth of your thoughts, the soft rhythm of the evening, and the gentle pulse of the city guide you into a peaceful sleep. The world around you, though ever moving, is at rest for now, just as you are. As Athens finds its quiet moments, so too can you find rest. Tomorrow, the sun will rise again, and with it, new challenges, new ideas, and new opportunities to shape the future. But for now, as the stars twinkle above and the night wraps its embrace around you, know that you are part of something much larger, something eternal, something that will continue long after you've fallen into your dreams. So as the night settles in and the world becomes still, let your mind drift. Let the worries of the day fade into sleep. Good night, dear listener. May your dreams be as peaceful and profound as the city that never stops. And may you find rest, knowing that you are a part of something grand. Sleep well,